Welcome to another tutorial, part of this series where we're building an e-commerce website with Django. If you'd like to follow along, just go to the Django e-commerce GitHub repository that we have on our GitHub page. You can come here and clone or download this repository, and once you have it open here, we can get started. Hey everyone, before we jump into this, if you're interested in becoming a better Django developer, then check out justdjango.com, enroll, and you'll get access to exclusive video courses every month on Python, JavaScript, and React, with a specific focus on, obviously, Django. The link is in the description below. So let's just start by running the server. I have the virtual environment already activated. And so this is what it looks like. So let's just go down, and we talked a little bit about these product items in the last one, how we could take some of the information we're seeing on this card item and bring it as fields on the model. So that's what we'll start off doing. We're going to create a category. So you can see like sportwear, outwear, shirt, and then we'll create the label as well. So that's going to give us this blue or red kind of label for more information about the specific item. We already have the price and the title. Can just go into core models and take a look. So there's title and price. So let's add these ones in. We've got the category and then the label. So what I'm going to do is just create some category choices. And this is going to be a tuple. And the first entry is what goes in the database. And then the second entry is what's displayed. So let's just take a look here. There's like shirt, sportwear, and outwear. So we'll just put them here. So shirt, sportwear, and outwear. And we'll just put S, SW, and OW. And we'll just take this here, and we'll say that the category equals to a character field. And we'll say that the choices are the category choices. And we'll say the maximum length equals 2, because that's how many characters the maximum length is here. And then I'm going to copy that and actually just copy the entire thing there as well. And we're going to make this the label choices. And then this will be the label, and it will come from the label choices. And if we just come back here and inspect this, then you can see this is danger color, and we could change that to primary color. Most likely we could change this to secondary color. So you can see all the different classes that we can add. So let's just go and add 3 for now. We'll add primary, secondary, and actually we'll make this lowercase. And then we'll add danger. So this could be P, S, and D. And we'll say the maximum length is 1. Cool. So those are the fields then covered in terms of these items, as we can see so far. So if we come back, we can make migrations. So let's just run Python manage.py make migrations. Oh, we're not putting any commas anywhere. So let's make sure that this is a tuple. Try that again. Okay, now it's saying we need to provide once-off defaults, and that's correct. So for the category, we can just say provide default, and I'll just say S for shirt. And then for the label, we'll add a default and say P for primary. There we go. Then we can say migrate. And now let's go and run the server. And we can then go to the templates, go into products.html. And if we open this up and just come back here, we only need to grab one of these card items, and then we can just loop through all of them and just open up home.html. And there's still quite a lot inside here, but if we just scroll down after the second and third slide, we could probably remove those as well. And you've got controls, and you've got categories, so that's like for filters. And then as we scroll down, then we've got card content and card image. So this is one card. It's inside the grid column. So if we come down you can see that that's what's repeating itself. So we can actually close it on the div, on this column. And you've got an entire row like that as well. So what I'm going to do is actually just remove one of these rows. And then if we go inside this one, I'm going to delete those 3 columns there. And I'm going to remove some of these comments as well. So inside this row, I'm going to loop through it. And we can go and take a look at the view that we have for home.html. So we can come here and add this context in there as well. And then we can loop through the items. So we'll say for item in items, and then just say N4. Then inside this card, we'll replace that number with item.price. Then that is the title, so item.title. Then you've got new there. So this new is the label. So danger will replace with the label display. And the way that we get the display is by calling get, then the field name. So get underscore label underscore display. So this will be item.get label display. And I'm just going to leave it as new for now. We'll figure out how we can change that text later. And then this is the category. So it's very similar to get label display. This will be get category display. And if we take a look at this now, then there we can see our 2 items coming through. And what I'm going to do is actually just go back here into the view, and I'm going to change this into a class-based view. If you haven't seen our video on class-based views, then be sure to check it out. The link is going to display over here in the top right corner. And in that video, we cover everything about class-based views. So I'm going to make use of them here because they can help in making us write a lot less code. So what I'm going to do is just come here to the top and we'll say from django.views.generic import list view, and I'll import the detail view as well. So the home view right now is kind of like a list view because we are listing out these items. So what I'm going to do is just come here and we'll say class home view, which inherits from the list view. And then we just have to specify the model, which is the item. Then I'll say that the template name equals to home.html. And if we then take that home view, we can bring that in here. And I'll replace it like this. So .as view, and everything is still working. Now if we come back here, now they're not displaying anymore, and that's because the context variable is different. So if we come back up top here, where we're looping through the items, it's not items anymore. This would be object list. There we go. Now they're coming through. And then we can also go and define a detail view, and I'm going to get rid of this function-based view there. So I'll say class product detail view, or rather we can call it item detail view. And that's going to inherit from the detail view. Say the model equals to item, and the template name is going to be equal to product.html, and that's basically this view here. And if we just take a look at what that looks like, you can see it's kind of like a detail view, even though these images have nothing to do with this item here. I can imagine that this is supposed to be kind of like a detail view where you can add it to cart. So we'll treat it like a detail view, and I'm going to come into the templates and rename products to product.html, and then we can save this here. And then inside the URLs, we can bring that view. So item detail view instead of products, and then we'll make it product. And I'm going to make it take in a slug, just like that. And I'll change the name to product there. And the reason this has to take in a slug is because this is a detail view. So either we pass in a primary key or we pass in a slug for the class-based view to handle which object it's getting. And so then here inside product.html, we can just scroll down a little bit. And this is the image there. Then here we have some categories. And I'm going to get rid of 2 of them there because we only have 1. So this will then be object.get category display, where object is the default template variable name. And if we take a look here, that seems to be like a previous price. So the $100 is a discount price, which we could add in to the model as well. But for now, what I'm going to do is just replace the 100 with object.price. Then here in home.html, let's make sure that we can actually redirect to the absolute URL of each instance. And I'm just going to do that here inside this href. So we can make sure that here on this model, we have a get absolute URL. So I'll just say define get absolute URL, which just takes in self. And I'll just say that it returns a reverse, which is going to need to be imported. So up here at the top, we can say from Django.shortcuts import reverse. And we're going to reverse to the core namespace. And let's just move these files around. And then to the product URL, like that. And we need to pass in the keyword arguments, where the slug will be self.slug. And that means that we need to go and add a slug field here. So we'll say slug equals models.slug field. And then we can say python manage.py make migrations. I'll provide a default, and I'll just say test product, like that. Then we can go and migrate. And I'll run the server. And then here we need to just go into the admin to fix those slugs. So if we go to items, this can be test product 1. And then this can be test product 2. Cool, so now we have that reverse working. So we can take the get absolute URL and bring that into the home.html. And here we can say item.get absolute URL. And if we come back here, then if I click on the title, then it redirects us to that URL. And we can see that the shirt tag is coming through, even though this isn't a shirt. And we've got the $100 price there. And we also have a couple other fields here. You've got a description, and you've got kind of like a previous price, or rather this is the actual price and this is the discount price. So what we can do is we can come here on the item and we can say that's the price. And then we can say this is the discount price, but we can say blank and null equal true so that you don't actually have to have a discount price. And then we can go and make migrations, migrate, run the server. And if we go into the admin again, then let's go to these items. And I'll add a discount price of 50 to that one, and I'll keep the second one blank. So let's go back. Then here we want to display, then what we want to do is we want to say if there is a, so how we'll do this is we'll say if there is a discount price, then show the discount price, otherwise show the normal price. And then if you click on that item, then here we'll show this original price if there is the original price, but only if there is a discount price. So let's just come back here, and in home.html, we'll create a little bit of logic here. So we'll say if item.discount price, so if it has a discount price, then show the discount price, else we'll show the price, and then just say end if, and we can kind of copy that logic there. And let's just come back to home, and now you can see that 50 is showing there, which is the discount price. And let's click on this item to go here. So then in product.html, I'm just going to paste everything here. So again, this will be if object.discount price. So if there is a discount price, then we're going to show all of that, and the 200 is what's being scratched out. So that is the price, and then we'll show discount price next to it. Otherwise, we'll just show object.price. And let's make sure that this is inside a span as well. So just like that. And then we can delete all of those there. Now if we come back, now we can see that one there, but let's just go back to home and see the second one. And now you can see only the 200 is showing. And let's actually also come back and add a description on the item. So this is just going to be a text field. Again, make migrations. Default is going to be, this is a test description, and just add some nonsense there. And then we'll say migrate. Cool, so now we have that field. And we also have the list view and the detail view working. And let's actually just go back here and add this href. And I'm going to add it over this div there. And let's just come back here to home. Now if you click on that item, then it redirects you as well. Cool, so now let's look at how we can add an item to the cart. So I'm just going to close that there. And we're going to need to create a function that can handle that. So one function that will add an item to the cart, which is basically just going to take that item, create an order item, assign the order item to the order if the user has an order, and if otherwise, then it will create that order on the spot. And then when you remove the item, then it's just going to remove the order item from the items field. So we'll just come here and define add to cart, which is going to take a request and a slug. And the slug is the slug of the item, so we can add that specific item. So let's say that the item equals, and we'll say import get object or 404, so we can use this method and just pass in the item and say where the slug equals to slug. Then we need to see if the user has an order or not. So let's just check if we've imported it. So we'll need order item and we'll need order. And then here we'll just say that the order item equals to an order item which we'll create. And we'll just say that the item equals to this item that we just got now. And then we need to check if the user has an order. So if they have an order, then we will basically just modify the quantity of this item in the order. And we don't have a quantity field on the item at the moment, so we can go and do that now. We'll say quantity equals models.integer field, and we'll say default equals 1, so that when it's created by default, it's only one item. So let's make migrations, and then migrate, then run the server. So here, we're going to say that the order equals to order.objects.filter, and then we'll filter it based on the user. So we'll say where user equals request.user, and where is ordered equals false. So, or rather ordered. So this way we're making sure that we're only getting the order that has not been completed, because they might have some orders that are completed. So we need to make sure that we pass this into this filter. And if this order query set exists, so we'll say if order query set dot exists, then we will grab the order from this query set. So we'll say order equals to order query set of 0. So then we need to check if the order item is in the order. So we'll say if order.items.filter, where the item _slug equals to item.slug. And we say if this exists, then that means that this item is already in the cart. And we can then just say that order item.quantity plus equals 1. And then say order item.save. And I'm actually realizing now that this quantity shouldn't be on the item. It should be on the order item, because here is where we want to keep track of how many order items we have. So let's just save that, and then let's make migrations. And let's just see, okay, we have to save this file. And basically just moving that field. Now we can run the server again. So this is all if the order query set exists. But if the order query set does not exist, so let's say else, then we will say order equals to order.objects.create, where the user equals request.user, and then we just say order.items.add, and just add that order item. And then after all of that, then we can just say return redirect, and I'm going to redirect us back to the slug of the item that we just added. So this is going to be, if we take a look at the URLs, this is going to be product, so core product, and then keyword arguments, where slug is the slug that was passed in, and then we'll just import redirect from Django.shortcuts, and everything seems fine. So now this add to cart view we need to bring into the URLs as well. So we'll just bring it here, and we'll add another path and just say this is add to cart, which is also going to take in a slug, and then say add to cart and say name equals add to cart as well. And then we can take this name of the URL, come back to the model, and we're going to create another shortcut method here on the item. So we'll say define get add to cart URL of self, and we're going to basically return the exact same thing here, but this is going to go to add to cart view, and we just pass in the slug as well. Then we can use this in the template. So if we go to the product.html and also get rid of that description there, because now we have our own one, so we can say object.description, and here we have the add to cart button. I'm going to copy this button, paste it outside the form, and I'm just going to comment out the form for the time being, and I'll change this to an A tag, and I'll say the href goes to object dot, and I'll just copy this here, get add to cart URL, and then I'm going to get rid of the type submit. So now if we refresh this here, now if I click add to cart and it says order date can't be null, that's right. So this is the order date here on the order. So that means that here when we create the order, we just need to pass in the order date. So I'm going to just specify that here, and we're going to import from Django.utils. So Django.utils import time zone, and then we can take this and say it equals to timezone.now. So it returns an aware or naive date time depending on the settings, and this is okay for what we want to do. So then we'll just pass this into this create method. So order date equals to ordered date, and now let's just go back. I'll refresh this, click add to cart, and it says add to cart slug is not defined. And this is because we're using a redirect, not a reverse call here. So let's just change this from keyword arguments to slug equals slug. And let's come back and try that again. Cool. And let's also open up the admin so we can see. And if we check the order items, then it says we're getting this error there. That's from our define string method. Let's say return, we'll actually use an f string here, and we'll say return self.item.quantity, and I'll say of self.item.title because the item has a title, and this is meant to be self.quantity. And we've got a bunch of them from pressing that button. So let's just go and delete all of these. And let's come back and say add to cart. And then it redirects us back to this page, which is fine. And now we can see one of dummy item 1 with a quantity of 1. And let's go back to the order here. The item's not selected at the moment, and that's because we probably didn't do that here. And we didn't, so we checked if the order item was in the order. So if it was, then we just added 1, but if it wasn't, so else, then we need to say order.items.add, and we're also adding the order item in there. Cool, so let's go back and delete that order item again. And then we'll say add to cart, refresh this, there it is, come back to the order, and now we can see it's added. And let's see what happens if I click it again. And if we refresh here, then we can see that there were 2 now. So let's just go back to the order items and see what's happened is that we've actually created a second one and set the quantity to 2, whereas we would have actually wanted the original one to have a quantity of 2. So that means we have something wrong here in this method, and that's that we're creating the item every single time, regardless of whether it's in the order or not. So one way we can control this is by changing this into the get or create method. And then here on the order item, we could also specify the user as a foreign key, and then also specify ordered in the exact same way that we do have it here. And then we'll just make migrations. And it's saying that we're going to need to add some default user. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set blank and null equal true on the user. And I'm just going to quit make migrations again. And then we'll migrate. And then let's run the server. Then here in the admin, I'm going to just come here and specify the user for both of these. Then I'll come back and remove blank and null. And then make migrations again. And now it says there are 3 options, so we can ignore for now. And then we'll migrate and then run the server again. And then back here in the view, we are getting or creating the item, but there's a couple other conditions we're going to add in here. So we'll say where the item equals that item, the user equals request.user, and ordered equals false. So that makes sure this last one, ordered equals false, that we're not getting an item that's already been purchased. So if we come back here, we can actually delete both of these. And then I'll come and add to cart. And that's because we need to add created there, because this is returning a tuple to us. Try that again. Now we see that one there. And let's open up the orders. And we see it's added in there as well. If I add it again, let's refresh this here. Now you see the quantity is 2. And we don't have another one created there, which is good. And it's added in there as well. Cool, so that's all working. So we can now focus on removing from the cart. So if we come back here, it's also similarly going to look like this. So we'll say define remove from cart, which takes a request and a slug. And at the end of all of it, we're going to return a redirect back to that slug. And we're also going to need to get that item, and we're going to need to get the order. So I'm going to copy that query set there. So we check if there is an order for this user that is not ordered yet. If the query set exists, then we get that order, and I'll say else. We could then just return a redirect back to that same place there, and I'll say add a message saying the user doesn't have an order, And then if the order does exist, then we will check if the order contains that item slug, and we can get rid of those two there. So we're getting the item, checking if the user has an order. If they do have an order, then we make sure we grab it, and we then filter the order for that specific item slug. If that order does contain the order item, then we need to remove it. So we can basically change this to remove, but we also need to get that order item, and we can just say get rid of that else there. So the order item we'll just grab here using this call there, and just say dot filter where item equals item, user equals request.user, ordered equals false, and we can just say of 0. And then here we'll just say else, return another redirect, and here we'll need to add a message saying that the order does not contain this order item. So like that. So let's see if this logic is correct. We'll take that, bring it into the URLs, and I'll just copy that and say this is remove from cart. And then we can go into the template, and I'm just going to go into the product, and I'm going to copy this here just for testing. We're not going to actually keep this here. So just say remove from cart, and we can go to the model as well, and then paste this here and say get remove from cart URL, and then this is also remove from cart. Then we can take that here, and I'll get rid of entire line, and then the class here I'll say is danger. And so let's see this now. So right now we have 2 of this item. So if I say remove from cart, let's see here, this still exists, which is fine. But if we come here, now it's not there anymore. So it was successfully removed. If I try remove from cart again, then we're not seeing any of the errors come through, and that's fine. So we'll probably want to add messages as a last touch for this video. So I'll just close these 2 off, and we'll go to the top, and we'll say from Django.contrib import messages, and then we can come down, and I'll add here, we'll say messages.info of the request, and say this item was added to your cart, and then we'll copy that and put another one here and say this item was updated, and we can say item quantity was updated, and then I'll copy this and paste that one there. So there we go, we can actually make it use this one. So this item was added to your cart, and then for the remove from cart, if the order query set exists, then here when we remove the item, we'll say this item was removed from your cart, and then otherwise we'll say this item was not in your cart, and then you can get rid of that comment there. And then here we say the user doesn't have an order, so we'll say you do not have an active order, and then get rid of that comment there. And because we have these return statements inside these else statements, I'm actually just going to add the return there and get rid of it there, because we are checking all of the boxes in these conditions. Now we just need to add the messages into the templates here. So let's just close that there. And I'm going to come back here and just look for the Django messages. Come here to the framework. And if we just scroll down, then we can copy this here. And we'll go into the templates, into base.html. And right here below the nav bar, Just paste that there. And actually, if you go to mdbootstrap.com to the jQuery docs components alerts, you can actually just make use of these alerts, which we'll use for the messages. So I'm just going to copy that div there. And instead of creating an unordered list, I'll get rid of the unordered list and paste this over here. And then the message I'll cut out and paste there. And then the messages tags I will take and replace primary with that there. Then I'll just get rid of that. Now let me actually try and move this into the body instead. And what I'm actually going to do is take the return redirect and make sure that this is also inside all of these conditions, and just rearrange that. And then this last one over there. So if I click add to cart now, we can just inspect this and double check that we aren't getting an alert, which we are. There it is. And what I'll do here is just come and add margin top 20 pixels. And let's see, it's got to be quite a lot for us to see it. And so what I'm going to do is just create a div here, and I'll specify the class as margin top 5. So then if we try this again, and we can see it there. If I try and take that PT4 class, then you can see it's probably as good as we'll get, but let's just come down, and here you can see there are dismissible ones. So let's take that and I'll just paste that inside there. And then take the messages tags, replace warning with that there, and the strong I'm going to remove and put message in there. Then we can get rid of that one. So now if we come back here, if I say remove from cart, and we need to add PT4 there. So if I click add to cart, there's that. If I click remove from cart, if I try remove from cart again, it says the item was not in your cart. And if I go and refresh this order here and delete this order and then come back and remove from cart, you do not have an active order. If I try add to cart, then it was added to the cart again. And you can see there it is. Cool, so it seems like everything is working, and that's where we're going to leave it at this video. So if you enjoyed it, then leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.